How's it going, everyone? So the Packers have officially released their first injury report today. Now, usually they would release it on a Wednesday, but with their game against the New York Giants being on a Monday, their first practice is today on a Thursday. Now, as usual with every week with the Packers, they have a lengthy injury list, and this week is nothing different. So to start off, Jaire Alexander starts it off, was a limited participant today with that shoulder injury. Now, a little bit shocking, he was a limited participant all last week and still did not suit up against the Kansas City Chiefs, although it kind of seemed like he might since he was a limited participant, but he did not. So him being a limited participant is once again not really going to tell us much. He could be a limited participant this whole week and still might not suit up against the Giants, which is discouraging considering he has barely played this year. And granted, when he has played, he has been horrible. So the Packers are taking a very long approach with this one, and also shockingly not putting him on IR for some reason. But as of right now, his game time status is a bit of an unknown, and we really won't find out until game time. Next up, Devondre Campbell had a neck injury, was a limited participant. Nothing to really fear. He's kind of been on the injury report with that neck injury. He did play against Kansas City Chiefs, so I do expect him to suit up again against the New York Giants. Then Josiah DeGuara had a hip injury, full participant, no real worry there. If he's going to participate, he should be good to go. A.J. Dillon, he has shown up on the injury report list before with that groin injury. They tend to linger, and he might have this for a while depending on how well he heals up. Luckily, it's a Monday night game, so he got an extra day's rest, and he was a limited participant. But I do expect him to suit up and go against the New York Giants, which is great because he's been playing some great football for us, especially in the absence of Aaron Jones. Next up, Rashawn Gary with the shoulder injury was a limited participant. Once again, same as last week, he had this injury and he still played against the Kansas City Chiefs, so I still expect him to suit up against the New York Giants. And then further going down, we have Elton Jenkins, once again with that shoulder injury, was a limited participant, had the same shoulder injury, was showed up on the injury report last week before the Chiefs game and still played, so he should also be good to go. And then we have Aaron Jones, and we actually have improvement in his status. So last week, with that sprained MCL, with the knee injury, he didn't participate at all last week. But today, he was a limited participant, was shown out there kind of doing some football drills, and it's encouraging to see. We'll have to see how he progressed throughout this week. Now, I do expect him to once again not suit up because the Packers do like to take the long approach, especially with their injured players. And the fact this is Aaron Jones' second injury, and it's a sprained MCL. Also adding to the fact, A.J. Dillon has done pretty well running the ball the past few weeks in Aaron Jones' absence and has pretty much been the running back we kind of wanted. He's just been a downhill bruiser, and he's been fighting for those extra yards. So with A.J. Dillon having a great end of November and start to December, I could see them holding Aaron Jones back, but we'll see as Saturday comes where his status lies. Next up, we have Keyshawn Nixon with the wrist injury, was a full participant. No real fear that he'll be missing the game against the Giants. Jonathan Owens, this one is a new injury. He was a limited participant with a knee injury. I don't know exactly when that knee injury popped up or if it's kind of just a little sore. Hopefully he'll be good to go, especially since him and Darnell Savage did a pretty good job on the back end against Kansas City Chiefs and limiting any big play potential. But it's definitely something we're going to monitor along with a few other players, how he progresses this week. Next, we have Jaden Reed with chest injury, limited participant, had this injury last week and still suited up against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I don't really have any worry that he won't suit up against the New York Giants. And then going back to talking about the back end, Darnell Savage has once again popped up on the injury report with a chest injury and wasn't a participant. Now, we don't know the severity of what this chest injury or if it'll hold him out, so it's definitely something we'll monitor, as with Jonathan Owens, how severe potentially their injuries are. Next up, Eric Stokes with that hamstring injury was on IR and is in that practice window, but he was a full participant today. Now, I see him actually coming back against the game against the Giants. Now, I remember I said this before when he first came back, to where he'll play some snaps, but he won't play a ton. Hopefully they don't put him as a gunner again to where he just hurts his hamstring again. Let's not do that. Let's try to ease him in, especially coming off the injury report if they decide to bring him back this week. Next up, we have Quay Walker, a newcomer to the injury report this week with that shoulder injury and did not participate. We don't know the severity of that shoulder injury. Hopefully it's nothing too big and they're just kind of giving him Thursday off. But something we're going to have to monitor throughout the week. And hopefully he'll be good to go against the Giants. Next, the big one. Christian Watson had that hamstring injury against the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of worry. We're pretty much certain that it was a hamstring injury, but we are also kind of hoping it was cramps. They have officially said it's a hamstring injury. He did not participate today. Now, they interviewed Christian Watson and they asked Matt LaFleur about that hamstring. And they're saying, well, they feel like it's not as severe as that first hamstring injury he got that put him out a few weeks. But with how hamstring injuries, his frequent pulls of those hamstrings, he has gone to see an independent doctor and try to figure out how he could prevent this. And apparently he is putting a lot of money to try and figure out what's causing this. And it looks like he's going to have to potentially, hopefully this does work, strengthen his back muscles so his whole body is in conjunction and not his hamstrings trying to compensate for a lack of strength in another part of his body. So right now, he did not participate. They don't have an official, hey, he's not going to suit up against the Giants, but if I were to bet, he's not going to suit up against the Giants. They're going to give him this week for sure and monitor his progress next week and see how severe that hamstring is and how he's progressing. Then lastly, we had Devontae Wyatt with the elbow injury. He had this injury last week, was a limited participant and still suited up, so I don't have any fear that he won't suit up against the New York Giants. Now, looking over at the New York Giants side, man, it must be nice to only have 6 players on their injury list. So they have Carter Coughlin, their linebacker, with a hip injury. He was a full participant. Dexter Lawrence on their line with a hamstring injury and was a limited participant. Evan Neal, offensive lineman, ankle injury, who did not participate for them. Ashawn Robinson on their line, also with a hamstring injury, was a limited participant. Isaiah Simmons with an ankle injury, a limited participant. And then lastly, Tyrod Taylor with the rib injury was a full participant. Despite that, it's going to be DeVito starting for them unless some unforeseen thing happens to DeVito. He'll be their starting quarterback. And that pretty much wraps up the injury list, the long injury list for the Packers and the shorter injury list for the Giants. A lot of these are continuing injuries week to week as you get later on into the year, players get banged up. Now, it kind of sucks because it seems like since week 2, our injury list has been at least 10 players, and it seems like we're never getting healthy. If someone gets healthy, someone goes off and it becomes injured. Christian Watson seems to hurt his hamstring every week. But the past few weeks, it's always been definitely a next man up and everyone contributing and putting it together. So despite the long injury list, I've kind of grown accustomed to it, and I'm not as fearful as I used to be in the middle of the portion where it looked like we were one of the worst teams of football. And also to add on to that, most of these players are most likely going to play with pretty much probably, I'd say 3 to 4 players not suiting up. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.